The process. This is a study. Why did that censor? Research. Studying the process of how projects come to life is such an important aspect to learning about architecture or understanding how that was built in general. It expands upon that question about how did they do that? How was this built? Who built this? And how did they bring this creative concept or this atrocious design to life? But it's also how can we prevent buildings from collapsing? So let's break down the study of process through the study of the process. When we study the process, we want to know about what project can relate to what we're trying to do. Like, what are the gists or the attributes that this one study of a project can do to what we're trying to look for in our own project. And it's dissecting inspirations and trying to see what worked and what didn't, and what can work for us and what can't work for us. Is it applicable to the principles that we're trying to build up with the project that we're trying to do? And that goes down to the idea of case studies. Case studies are essentially a basic term to look into things that are examples or research material that we can use for our projects, whether it be the design, architecture, the material, the way it's being constructed, structural, or even just the environmental or community responses about what works and what didn't work. We could take one project, for example, and look into why that project can relate to what we're trying to look for. To break it down, the beginning of the process starts off with questions that allows you to become curious to explore what solutions they've come up with. Take an account to each lessons to how it was resulted. What are the goals for this research? What are some of the curious questions that began this research? It could be within the time frame of how it was constructed. Diving into each of the phase within that process. Each of these projects allows a design lesson and interpretation and different iterations to how we can construct our ideas and inspiration into our own self, taking bits and details of how the story began and how it concludes. A collection of references that we can take into account from different methodology, typology, from different type of architecture, a simple construct to how it began to how it concluded, from the historical building records to the technical design techniques. Every project provides characteristics and attributes that we can manifest from and transform that into our own design. It presents us the opportunity to acknowledge what was possible and what wasn't, and are we willing to challenge that frontier? Also looking into, what the fuck? What? And case studies don't really have to be from architecture. It can be materials, it can be construction methods, it could be specific inspirations from our concepts. Look into the context that led up to the beginning of how it started to the completion of the project. What was that process like? What did the architect have to do to manage all of this and bring it to life? And also, what happened after that project? The impact of the context. Did it lead to a positive attitude or a negative one? Is it environmentally friendly yet community discouragement? What are the aftermath and the beginning process have an effect on the context of the surrounding spaces? So specific projects of researching the process, how did it lead to that point? What can you learn from what they've gone to, and what can you do with your project? Also taking note and consideration that every life project has a process itself, whether it be projects in books, movies, YouTube. Like, every building in architecture has some sort of inspiration that's outside of architecture. All these small bits and massive ideas are important to understanding the project and what it'll lead to in the future. And studying the process isn't just projects. It's you. That's right, I'm talking to you. Case studies doesn't have to be specifically just projects itself. It's a study about what you can learn from them, and I don't just mean projects, it's people too. So from students to aspiring architects and designers, what kind of architect do you want to become? Look into different architects from a wide range of fields, from local to national to even international. What kind of architect or designer do you want to become? What kind of projects do you want to get to at a certain point? How did they get to where they are, and how did they start off in their humble beginnings? Was it even a humble beginning? What is that start process like, and how did they get to a point where you aspire to be like them in the future? The steps of failure and successes in their making. And of course, all things in life are very different from each individual, but it's the perspective of observing and studying how we can become those people in our own sense, using projects and our surroundings or our inspiration as studies. So, what kind of person do you want to become? What kind of project do you want it to be? How far are you willing to go into becoming an architect? And how much time are you willing to put to make that project come to life? So take all aspirations into consideration and study the process.